Dr. Han Jae-yun stared at the strange metal disc on her desk. The alien device gleamed under the bright laboratory lights. 6 months had passed since the ships appeared over every major city on Earth, but she still couldn't believe it was real. Another late night. Dr. Kim Do-hyun walked into the lab, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He placed one next to Jae-yun's computer. "The Galactic Council meeting is in 3 days," she said, taking a sip of the hot drink. "We need to show them something impressive." The aliens had not been hostile, but they weren't exactly friendly either. They looked down on humans as if they were children playing with toys. Earth's limited space travel capabilities made the advanced species think humans were too primitive to join their community. Jae-yun picked up the metal disc. It was a simple navigation device by alien standards, but its technology was far beyond anything humans had made. The aliens had given it to Earth as a welcome gift, but she knew it was meant to show how far behind humans were. "Look at these readings," she said, pointing to her computer screen. Strange numbers and patterns filled the display. "There's something odd about how it processes quantum information. It's inefficient." Do-hyun leaned closer to look. He was younger than Jae-yun, but just as dedicated to understanding alien technology. "You're right," he said after studying the data. "They're using complex methods to do simple tasks. It's like they're taking the long way around." A knock on the door interrupted their discussion. Ambassador Lee Sung-ho entered the lab, looking tired but determined. As Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, he carried a heavy burden. "Dr. Han, Dr. Kim," he greeted them with a small bow. "How are the preparations going?" Jae-yun straightened her lab coat. "We've made some interesting discoveries, Ambassador. The alien technology is advanced, but their approach to quantum mechanics is strange. They seem to misunderstand some basic principles." The ambassador's eyes widened. "Are you saying we know something they don't?" "Maybe." Jae-yun picked up a tablet and showed him some diagrams. "Human scientists have been studying quantum entanglement for decades. We may not have fancy spaceships, but our theoretical understanding is solid. The aliens, they're like people who learn to drive without knowing how a car engine works." "This could be important," Ambassador Lee said, stroking his chin. "The Council thinks we're primitive because we can't travel between stars. But if we understand something they don't." "It's too soon to be sure," Do-hyun cautioned. "We need more time to study their technology." The ambassador nodded. "You'll have your chance. The Council has invited Earth to send representatives to their technology exchange summit. Dr. Han, they specifically requested you attend." Jae-yun felt her heart beat faster. This was an opportunity to prove humans weren't as primitive as the aliens thought, but it was also dangerous. If she made a mistake, it could damage Earth's relationship with the Galactic Council. "When do we leave?" she asked. "Tomorrow morning. Their ship will take us to their station near Jupiter." The ambassador handed her a folder. "These are the security protocols. Remember, we're not just scientists anymore. We're representing all of humanity." After the ambassador left, Jae-yun and Do-hyun stayed late into the night, studying the alien device. Neither of them knew it yet, but they were about to discover something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. As Jae-yun finally prepared to leave the lab, she looked out the window at the alien ship hovering over Seoul. Its lights sparkled like stars against the night sky. Tomorrow, she would board that ship and travel further than any Korean scientist had gone before. But her most important discovery was already sitting on her desk, hidden in the strange patterns of quantum data that the aliens had overlooked. The next morning would mark the beginning of humanity's rise in the galactic community, and it would all start with a simple question. What if the aliens weren't as advanced as they thought they were? The alien research station near Jupiter was enormous. Dr. Han Jae-yun stood at a window, looking at the giant planet below. After 3 days of meetings, she was finally back in a laboratory, though this one was very different from her lab in Seoul. Amazing, isn't it? Dr. Kim Do-hyun was examining an alien quantum computer. "Their technology is incredible, but something still bothers me about their methods." Jai-yun nodded. During the technology presentations, she had noticed more strange patterns in how the aliens handled quantum information. They used complex systems to do simple tasks, like someone building a highway to cross a small stream. "Do-hyun, can you help me with something?" She pulled out her tablet and connected it to the alien computer. "I want to try an experiment." The two scientists worked quietly, testing their ideas about quantum entanglement. On Earth, they had developed simple but effective ways to handle quantum particles. The aliens, despite their advanced technology, seemed to miss these basic principles. Suddenly, Jai-yun's tablet began showing unusual readings. "Look at this," she called to Do-hyun. The screen displayed patterns they had never seen before. "That's impossible," Do-hyun whispered, checking the data. According to their theories, this shouldn't work. But it does. They had accidentally discovered that human methods of quantum entanglement could be combined with alien technology to create something new. The alien computer was processing information faster than ever before, using less energy. "We need to document everything," Jai-yun said, her hands shaking with excitement. She began recording their findings, using both human and alien measurement tools. A soft chime announced a visitor. Ambassador Lee entered the lab with an alien official. The alien had blue-tinted skin and 4 eyes, typical of the leading species in the Galactic Council. "Dr. Han." "Dr. Kim," the ambassador said formally. "High Chancellor Ixel wishes to see your progress." Jai-yun quickly switched her tablet's display to show their official research. She wasn't ready to reveal their discovery yet. Something told her they needed to be careful. High Chancellor Ixel spoke through a translation device. "We are pleased with your dedication to learning our superior methods," the alien said, "though it will take your species many years to fully understand our technology." Jai-yun bowed politely, hiding her thoughts. The aliens didn't realize that humans had already understood something they had missed. "We are grateful for the opportunity to learn," she said. After the visitors left, Do-hyun looked worried. "They think we're just copying their technology. Should we tell them what we found?" Jai-yun thought carefully before answering. "Not yet. First, we need to understand exactly what we've discovered, and we need to think about what it means for Earth." That evening, in her private quarters on the station, Jai-yun sent an encoded message to Park Min-seo, a military scientist back on Earth. The message contained basic information about their discovery, but nothing that would attract attention. "We found something important," she wrote. "Prepare the secure lab. When we return, we have work to do." As she looked out at Jupiter's swirling clouds, Jai-yun thought about what their discovery could mean. The aliens had faster ships and bigger weapons, but humans had found a new way to handle quantum information. It was like finding a small key that could open a very large door. The next day, Jai-yun and Do-hyun would begin their journey back to Earth. They carried with them not just knowledge of alien technology, but something much more valuable. Proof that humans could do something the aliens couldn't. Soon, the balance of power in the galaxy would begin to shift, starting with a breakthrough in a laboratory far from home. Ambassador Lee Sung-ho sat in his office at the Earth Embassy in Seoul, reading reports from different governments. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across his desk. Everyone wanted to know about the quantum research, but he had to be careful with his answers. Dr. Han Jai-yun and Dr. Kim Do-hyun had returned from the alien station 3 weeks ago. Since then, they had been working in a secure laboratory with Park Min-seo, the military scientist. Their discovery was becoming more important each day. The door opened, and his assistant entered. "Sir, High Chancellor Ixel requests an immediate meeting." The ambassador straightened his tie and activated the holographic communication system. The alien leader's image appeared before him, all 4 eyes showing concern. "Ambassador Lee," Ixel spoke through the translator. "We have noticed unusual quantum energy patterns from your research facilities. This is very concerning." Lee kept his face calm. We are simply studying the technology you shared with us, High Chancellor. Our sensors indicate you are doing more than studying. Ixal's tone grew harder. For safety reasons, we must insist that you stop all quantum research immediately. In the secure laboratory across the city, Jai Yun and Du Hyun were unaware of this conversation. They worked with Park Min-seo, improving their discovery. The room was filled with both human and alien equipment. The quantum link is stable, Min-seo said, checking the readings. This could change everything. Jai Yun nodded, watching the data flow across her screen. They had found a way to make quantum particles connect instantly across any distance. The aliens could do this too, but their method required huge amounts of energy and complex equipment. The human way was simple and efficient. Back in his office, Ambassador Li was facing a difficult decision. High Chancellor, my government believes that scientific research is essential for human development. You do not understand the risks, Ixal insisted. Quantum technology can be very dangerous in underdeveloped hands. Li thought carefully before responding. He knew the real reason for the aliens' concern. If humans mastered quantum communication, the big alien powers would lose their control over information flow in the galaxy. His computer chimed with a message from Jai Yun. Testing successful. The system works perfectly. The ambassador made his decision. High Chancellor, we respect your concern. However, Earth will continue its research. We believe in the free exchange of knowledge. Ixal's image flickered with anger. This is most unfortunate. The Council will need to discuss proper measures to ensure galactic safety. After the alien leader disappeared, Li quickly sent a message to the laboratory. They're worried. Keep everything secure. I'll try to buy you more time. That evening, Jai Yun, Du Hyun, and Min-seo sat in the lab's break room, drinking coffee and discussing their next steps. They had created something revolutionary, but now they faced political pressure from the most powerful beings in the galaxy. We could show them that sharing technology benefits everyone, Jai Yun suggested. Min-seo shook his head. They don't want benefits for everyone. They want to stay in control. Then we'll have to prove them wrong, Du Hyun said firmly. Humans have always been good at that. As night fell over Seoul, lights flickered in the secure laboratory. Inside, 3 scientists continued their work, knowing they were part of something that would change the galaxy forever. Above them, alien ships watched carefully, their crews worried about what these primitive humans might discover next. 1 month had passed since the confrontation with High Chancellor Ixal. The secure laboratory in Seoul had grown busier with the addition of 2 new team members. Dr. Yoon Hye-jun, a young programming expert, sat at his workstation, writing code that would make the quantum communication system easier to use. The interface needs to be simple, Hye-jun explained to Dr. Han Jae-yun. Even species with different technology levels should be able to use it. Colonel Choi Un-ki, the newest member of their team, watched the testing process with keen interest. As a military officer, she understood how important secure communication could be. How long before it's ready? She asked. We're close, Dr. Kim Do-hyun answered, checking the test results. The system works perfectly at short range. We're calling it the Seoul Protocol. Jae-yun smiled at the name. Their quantum communication system had grown into something more than just a scientific breakthrough. It was becoming a gift that could change how different species talk to each other across the galaxy. Park Min-seo entered the lab, carrying reports from their latest tests. The aliens are increasing their surveillance, he said. Their ships have moved closer to Earth's orbit. They're scared, Colonel Choi said, looking at the security feeds. They know we've created something important. Hye-jun's computer beeped, showing new test results. Look at this, he called to the others. The quantum link stayed stable across the entire solar system. No delay, no signal loss, and it only used a tiny amount of power. The team gathered around his screen. They had done what the aliens thought was impossible. Their system could send messages instantly to any point in space, and no one could stop or intercept them. We need to test it beyond the solar system, Jai Yun said. But how can we do that without the aliens noticing? Colonel Choi smiled. I have an idea. There's a small human research ship near Alpha Centauri. They've been maintaining radio silence to avoid attention from the alien patrols. Perfect, Min Seo said. If we can communicate with them, it proves the system works at interstellar distances. The team worked through the night, preparing for their biggest test. He-jun finished the user interface, making it so simple that anyone could use it. Do-hyun and Jai-yun checked all the quantum connections, while Min Seo and Colonel Choi secured their communications. As morning approached, they were ready. Jai-yun sent the first message. This is Seoul Protocol Test 1. Do you receive? The room was silent as they waited. Seconds felt like hours. Then their screen lit up with a response. Message received clearly. How is this possible? We're 4 light-years away. The team cheered quietly. Their gift to the galaxy was ready. Now they had to decide how to share it. The alien leaders will try to stop us, Colonel Choi warned. They won't want to lose their control over galactic communications. Then we won't give them the chance, Jai-yun said firmly. We'll reveal it to everyone at once, during the next Galactic Council meeting. They can't stop an idea once it spreads. As the sun rose over Seoul, the team began preparing their presentation. They knew the next few days would change everything. The Seoul Protocol wasn't just a new way to communicate. It was a key that would unlock freedom for every species in the galaxy. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous. Thousands of representatives from different species sat in curved rows that reached high into the air. Ambassador Lee Sung-ho stood at the speaking platform, facing the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Dr. Han Jai-yun and her team waited nervously in the background. High Chancellor Ixel spoke first, his voice echoing through the translation systems. Earth has requested this emergency session to present a technological development. However, we must first discuss their unauthorized quantum research. Ambassador Lee remained calm. With respect, High Chancellor, we believe it's best to show you our discovery directly. He nodded to Jai-yun and her team. Jai-yun stepped forward, her heart beating fast. Dr. Kim Do-hyun and Dr. Yoon Hae-jun began setting up their equipment. The alien leaders watched with four-eyed stares that made it clear they expected little from these primitive humans. Honored council members, Jai-yun began. We have developed a new form of quantum communication. We call it the Seoul Protocol. She activated the small device on the podium. Instantly, holographic displays appeared in front of every representative in the chamber. The aliens murmured in surprise as they saw the simple interface Dr. He-jun had designed. This system allows instant communication across any distance, Jai-yun continued. It requires very little power, and it cannot be blocked or intercepted. High Chancellor Ixel stood up quickly. This is impossible. Such a system would require. Test it yourselves. Jai-yun interrupted politely. She gestured to the displays. The interface is active now. Try sending a message to anyone in the galaxy. The chamber erupted in activity as representatives began testing the system. Messages flew instantly between stars hundreds of light-years apart. The smaller species, who had always depended on the dominant powers for communication, were especially eager to try it. More importantly, Ambassador Lee announced over the growing excitement, Earth has decided to share this technology freely with all species in the galaxy. The chamber went silent. The 3 dominant species, represented by High Chancellor Ixel and his allies, looked shocked. Their control over galactic communication had been their greatest source of power. This is dangerous, one of Ixel's allies protested. Unrestricted communication could lead to chaos, or it could lead to freedom. A representative from a smaller species countered. For too long, we have relied on the major powers for everything. This changes everything. Colonel Choi Un-ki and Park Min-seo watched from their position near the chamber's entrance, ready to protect the team if needed. But no protection was necessary. the smaller species were too excited about the gift they had just received. The technical specifications and building instructions are being transmitted to every species now, Dr. He announced. The system is simple enough that anyone can build it with basic technology. Ambassador Lee stepped forward again. Earth believes that free communication is a right, not a privilege. We offer this gift to the galaxy in the spirit of cooperation and equality. As the session continued, Jai-Yun watched the reactions around the chamber. The smaller species were already forming new connections, sharing ideas and plans through their newly activated displays. The dominant species huddled together, realizing their power was slipping away. The Soul Protocol was more than just a communication system. It was the key to freedom that the smaller species had been waiting for, and it had come from the humans, the primitive species that the powerful had looked down upon. 2 weeks after the Galactic Council meeting, Dr. Han Jai-Yun stood at her laboratory window, watching ships from dozens of different species arriving at Earth. The Soul Protocol had changed everything faster than anyone expected. Ambassador Lee entered the lab, looking tired but pleased. The smaller species are forming their own trade agreements now, he reported. They no longer need permission from the dominant powers to communicate or do business. Dr. Kim Do-hyun was helping a group of alien scientists understand how to build their own quantum communication devices. The design is so simple, one of them said through a translator. Yet our leaders always told us quantum communication had to be complex and expensive. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones, Do-hyun replied, showing them how to adjust their equipment. In another part of the lab, Dr. Yoon He-jun worked with Colonel Choi Eun-ki to monitor the spread of the technology. Their screens showed thousands of new communication links appearing across the galaxy every hour. The trading patterns are changing, Colonel Choi observed, pointing to a map. Smaller species are creating their own shipping routes. They don't need to use the main trade lanes controlled by the dominant species anymore. He-jun nodded. And look at this, he said, showing another display. They're sharing other technologies too. The Soul Protocol gave them a way to talk freely, and now they're helping each other grow stronger. Park Min-seo entered the lab with new reports. The dominant species are trying to discourage use of the protocol, he said. They're claiming it's unstable and dangerous. But it's too late. Everyone can see it works perfectly. Jai-Yun was not surprised by this reaction. The 3 dominant species had controlled galactic communication for thousands of years. Now their power was disappearing because of a gift from Earth, the planet they had considered too primitive to matter. A message appeared on their main screen. It was from a coalition of smaller species, expressing their gratitude. Your gift has freed us. The message read, for the first time, we can speak to each other without fear or control. We will remember this always. Ambassador Lee smiled as he read the message. You've become quite famous, Dr. Han, he said to Jai-Yun. They're calling you the mother of the great equalizer. Jai-Yun felt embarrassed by the title. We all did this together, she said, looking at her team. And we're not finished yet. There's still so much more we can do to help. That evening, as the team celebrated their success, they received news that several smaller species had formed a new alliance. They called it the Free Communications Compact, and they wanted Earth to be a founding member. This is just the beginning, Colonel Choi said, watching the alien ships moving through Earth's orbit. The galaxy is changing, and we helped make it happen. Jai-Yun looked at her reflection in the window. She saw the same person she had always been, but now she understood something important. Sometimes, the greatest changes come from simply sharing what you know with others who need it. High Chancellor Ixel called an emergency meeting of the 3 dominant species in their private council chamber. The massive room, usually filled with displays of their power and wealth, now felt less impressive. Their control over the galaxy was slipping away because of the humans' gift. Our trade profits have fallen by 60%, one council member reported. The smaller species no longer need our communication networks. They're building their own trade routes using the Soul Protocol. We must stop this, another member demanded. We should send our fleets to Earth and force them to restrict this technology. High Chancellor Ixel raised his hand for silence. Direct action against Earth would unite all the smaller species against us. We need a different approach. Meanwhile, in the secure laboratory in Seoul, Dr. Han Jae-yun and her team were monitoring the situation. Dr. Yoon Hye-jun had created a program to track how the Seoul Protocol was spreading across the galaxy. "Look at this," Hye-jun said, pointing to his screen. "The dominant species are spreading false information. They're claiming our technology causes communication errors and system failures." Colonel Choi Eun-ki smiled. "But we planned for this, didn't we?" Jae-yun nodded. Before revealing the Seoul Protocol, they had prepared for the dominant species reaction. Dr. Kim Do-hyun opened a secure channel to their allies among the smaller species. "Activate Distribution Plan Beta," he transmitted. Across the galaxy, representatives from various species began sharing their successful experiences with the protocol. They released technical data showing how safe and reliable it was. More importantly, they started teaching other species how to build and improve the technology. "They can't stop the truth," Park Min-seo said, watching the responses flood in. "The smaller species have tasted freedom. They won't give it up." Ambassador Lee entered the lab with urgent news. "The dominant species are threatening to cut off trade with anyone using the Seoul Protocol," he reported. "They're getting desperate," Colonel Choi observed. "Their threats would have worked before, but now the smaller species don't need them anymore." Jae-yun finished. She pulled up a galaxy map showing thousands of new trade routes, all created using their quantum communication system. Hye-jun's computer beeped with an incoming message. "The Free Communications Compact is calling for an emergency meeting," he announced. "They want to form a united response to these threats." In their private council chamber, High Chancellor Ixel and his allies were realizing their mistake. They had assumed humans were primitive because they had less advanced spaceships. But Earth had given the galaxy something more powerful than any warship: the ability for all species to communicate freely. Perhaps, one council member suggested quietly, "We should consider adapting to this new reality instead of fighting it." As night fell over Seoul, Jae-yun worked late in her lab. She received messages from dozens of species, sharing their stories of how the protocol had changed their lives. Some had contacted lost colonies. Others had formed new scientific partnerships. All of them were building a future that the dominant species could no longer control. "Sometimes the best way to defeat power," she wrote in her journal, "is not to fight it, but to make it irrelevant." 5 years had passed since Earth shared the Seoul Protocol with the galaxy. Dr. Han Jae-yun stood on the stage of the Grand Assembly Hall of the Universal Communications Alliance, looking at the thousands of representatives from different species who had gathered for this historic moment. The Alliance headquarters, built in orbit around Earth, represented everything the Seoul Protocol had achieved. Species that once barely spoke to each other now worked together daily. The 3 dominant species had finally accepted the new reality and joined the alliance as equal members, not rulers. Ambassador Lee Sung-ho, now serving as Earth's representative to the Alliance Council, stepped forward to speak. 5 years ago, Earth was considered too primitive to matter in galactic politics. Today, we gather to honor the person who showed us that sharing knowledge is more powerful than keeping it secret. Jae-yun felt emotional as she accepted the Galactic Peace Prize, the highest honor the Alliance could give. The Crystal Award sparkled under the lights, each facet representing a different species that had contributed to its creation. Dr. Kim Do-hyun watched proudly from his seat. He remembered their early days in the laboratory, when they first discovered the quantum breakthrough. Now, he led a team of scientists from 30 different species, all working to improve the protocol further. Dr. Yoon Hye-jun had become a celebrity in his own right. His simple interface design had made it possible for every species to use the technology easily. Now he traveled across the galaxy, teaching young scientists from all species how to create their own innovations. The Seoul Protocol changed more than just communication. Jiayun said in her acceptance speech. It showed us that true power comes from helping others grow stronger, not keeping them weak. In the audience, Colonel Choi Eun-ki and Park Min-seo sat with High Chancellor Ixel, who had become one of Earth's strongest supporters after accepting the new balance of power. They were discussing plans for a galaxy-wide emergency response network, something that would have been impossible in the old days. Who would have thought, Ixel said through his translator, that the species we once called primitive would teach us so much about progress. After the ceremony, Jiayun walked through the Alliance's main research center with her old team. Young scientists from hundreds of species worked together in the laboratories, sharing ideas freely. The walls displayed real-time maps showing communication links connecting every corner of the galaxy. Remember when they tried to stop us from doing quantum research? Du Hyun asked, smiling at the memory. And now look, He Jun added, pointing to a group of alien children learning to use a quantum communicator in one of the education rooms. Every child in the galaxy grows up knowing they can talk to anyone, anywhere. Jiayun stopped at a window overlooking Earth. The blue planet looked peaceful from space, surrounded by ships from all over the galaxy. Some came to trade, others to learn, but all of them could communicate freely thanks to humanity's gift. We didn't just create a communication system, she said to her friends. We created hope, and that's the most powerful force in any galaxy. The Soul Protocol had changed the balance of power forever, not through force or fear, but through the simple act of sharing. As Jiayun looked at her reflection in the window, she saw the same truth that had started their journey. Sometimes the greatest power comes from giving power away.